After my open heart surgery in 2011, I went home and I wasn't feeling really rejuvenated at all. It didn't feel like I was recovering. In fact, it felt like I was having the same kind of problems I had before I went in. And I complained to my doctors that, it doesn't feel like I'm getting oxygen. Something's not right. I'm not getting everything I need. And they said, well, we just did the open heart surgery, the bypass. You should be good for years. Well, I kept complaining and complaining for several weeks. Finally, to appease me, I believe, they brought me in for an exploratory uh, procedure where they open you up in the groin, they go up inside and they look around with the camera and everything. They shoot dye in there and they see if you got any blocked arteries or blood vessels. And so I was scheduled for this procedure, and I went into my local HMO, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning. This procedure was set for. I go, so all right. So I already got up early, and I was told not to drink or eat 12 hours before. So I hadn't eaten, hadn't drank. And from the heart procedure, previously the heart surgery, my back has gone out from laying on a bed so long, for days and days and everything. My back went out. So I was entering the hospital. My back was out. I was having excruciating pain, and my hip was painful. My neck was painful. I could barely walk into the hospital. And so I was concerned about laying on this little surgical table, metal, cold metal. And if you've ever been in a room, a surgical room or a place where they do these procedures, it's cold. They don't want heat in there so they don't grow bacteria and stuff. So it's cold. So I go in there and I tell the doctor my back is hurting and everything. So they try to make me as comfortable as possible. And I'm laying naked on this table. And they finally throw a sheet over me. They cut my groin, and they shove all these tubes up into me, and that's after they've injected me with this dye, this black dye, and you can feel it in your body. And that dye would show on this screen, this monitor, like a TV thing, and it would show if there was any blockages. So they were going in very optimistic that there was not anything wrong because I just had bypass surgery. And I hear the doctor go, "Oh gosh, yeah, wow." So apparently one of my bypassed arteries that they sewed in there was totally blocked. No dye was getting through at all. It was totally blocked. So that's why I was having problems still. And so they determined that I needed a stent or two put in, and they couldn't do it there at that place at that time. I don't know why, but they were just basically the people that analyzed things. So they said, okay, we're going to leave everything in your groin, all these tubes and everything sticking out and wires and things, and because we don't want to cut you again. So we're going to send you over shortly to another hospital by ambulance, and they will take you in and they will do the surgery. I said, okay. So hours and hours go by, and it's not till about late in the afternoon that an ambulance finally came to take me over to the hospital. Meanwhile, I got instructions: no food, no water, don't go to the bathroom, don't move. I'm just laying there on this bed. So finally, they transport me to another hospital in Sacramento where they could do this heart procedure and catheterization. And I'm being taken downstairs. It's a Mercy Hospital, a good Catholic hospital. And I got an Indian doctor that's going to be doing the thing. He's, standing there and he greets me and everything. And I got nurses. And I'm, at this point, after being cut open and laying there all day long, I'm not in the world's greatest mood, even for me. I have my breaking point. And I'm complaining. I'm saying, hey, doc, I said, what kind of deal is that? You guys do this bypass surgery on me. It's supposed to be good for years. And it only lasts 6 weeks or 2 months at the most. And it's all clogged up. And I says, what goes on? He says, a vegetarian diet. I was a vegan at the time, and don't drink booze, don't drink caffeine at all in any form, don't smoke, don't no alcohol, don't do candy, don't do ice cream, don't do chocolate, don't nothing. I mean, straight laced, pure life. And I'm moaning and groaning and complaining about it. And he just looks at me and he says, well, let me tell you a story. And this is an Indian guy, right? So I'm going, okay, fine. So in response to my question, he tells me a story about Krishna and Arjuna at this great battle where Krishna is telling Arjuna that he has to fight this battle even though he doesn't want to fight. He's a very spiritual person. And he has to fight his brothers and relatives and friends on the other side in the opposing army. And basically, he looks at the Lord Krishna, like why? And he says, well, it's your duty, it's your dharma. This is something you're supposed to do. You have to face these things. You have to face your karma. You have to do these things. And so I looked at him, and he looks at me, and he says, you understand? And I go, yeah, I did. At some level, I actually did. I understood that this was my dharma. Because what it did when he said it was your dharma and your duty, I remembered back to my open heart surgery and what I experienced there with my guru telling me over and over again that it's my dharma, it's my duty, pain, suffering, all these things. So I said, okay, doc, good. So we roll into the operating room, and it's cold. You can practically see your breath. Doctors all got jackets and sweaters on, and they got their stuff over the top of that. And I still got all these things dangling out of my groin, and it's well after 6 o'clock at night, over 12 hours that I've had these things hanging out of my body with an open wound. And that's 12 hours, no water, no food, no movement, nothing. So my back is really, really hurting me. And so I'm laying there, and they try to, cover me up, keep me warm a little bit. And they give me a local anesthesia, and I'm wide awake. And they're pushing and shoving, and they're doing a thing. And the next thing you know, I am watching this operation from the ceiling. I'm looking down at my body, and my physical body, me, is laying there on this table, looking up at me in the ceiling. And I'm going, wow, I'm wide awake down there, yet I'm up here watching me down there. And then all of a sudden, I'm in the consciousness of my body at the table, and I'm looking up from my table at me on the ceiling, thinking, oh, there I am up there. So somehow, simultaneously, I was going from looking up at myself and looking down at myself. And depending on which one I was in, I was that part of me. It was unexplainable. But there I was having an out-of-body experience while my body was not unconscious. It was totally conscious, totally awake, and it was watching me do this. And just a matter where I shifted my attention, whether I could watch it from down below or watch from up down. Finally, the procedure's over, and the doctor's, pulling everything out and everything. And so I told the doctor, I said, I think this is crazy, but I told him what happened. He just looked at me and he goes, yeah, that happens. I go, okay, fine. And so we're finished up, and I thought, okay, that's good, it's all done. But no, they didn't really close everything up. Apparently you have to clamp things, and there's a whole procedure to close up this wound, and it's been open for, like 13, 14 hours by the time they started to deal with the issue. I wheeled back into the room, a hospital room, and later on, early in that morning, they come in and they're going to put sandbags on me and a clamp. They're going to clamp that together so it can heal. Normally, 5, 10 minutes is a long time. 15 is excruciating. And the nurse told me, says, yours has been open all day long. And they've been in and out of it with all kinds of things. She says, the only way it's going to truly heal is if you could take it as long as you can take it. And I said, well, what's normal? And she said, well, 15 minutes would be a long time. I said, okay, come back in an hour. She says, well, that's not procedure. I said, just forget about me for an hour. She says, okay. So she clamped that baby on. And it was painful. And there's this clamp, and it goes to the metal frame of the bed, and it clamps on your body, and it's pushing down. So she comes back in an hour, and I'm just in heavy pain. And then they take the clamp off, then they put 25-pound sandbag on top of that to keep pressure on it. So now it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I still haven't gone to the bathroom. I still haven't eaten or drank. So I said, can I get something to drink? I need to drink. So I finally got a drink of water about 3:30 in the morning, which was almost, well, it was over 24 hours. So I was really thirsty and beat. My back was out. My groin was sore. My hip was out. I was in the greatest excruciating pain. Came that morning. They're going to discharge me, and I'm going home. And I am totally in pain. I'm practically crippled. I could barely get in the car. I get home. I could hardly walk up my stairs to my bedroom. There's like 12, 13 stairs. It must have took me 5 minutes to get up them. There was no position I could get in to be comfortable. I could curl up like a ball. I could lay on my side. I could lay on my back. I could stand, sit, lay. It didn't make any difference. My back and my hip and neck were terrible pain. More pain than I've ever had. And I had to kind of laugh in a way because when I had my heart procedure and I had that unique experience, I was basically told that you're going to learn to experience pain so you can help others. And I go, wow. Anyway, promises of the universe are good. So there I was in great pain. Did something I don't normally do. I complained. Called a couple friends up. Anyway, 3 weeks of pain go by. Finally, I decide, as much as I'm against drugs, I'm going to take a couple of pills because I lost the mental connection to fight this mentally. I was so far over the edge with the pain that I needed something to get off the edge. And so I actually took a pain pill, which gave me just enough edge where I could use my willpower and mind to work on it. But there I was, in pain, but learning lessons. And the lesson really was that you can conquer pain. The pain is still there. It's still there today. But it's like soft elevator music playing in the background. So it's what you focus on. If you focus on your pain, you're going to feel every moment of it. If you focus on other things, get your mind off the pain. Don't fight it. Go with it. Befriend your pain. And I found that worked. So anyway, I have some techniques and I share those with some of my veteran friends who are in great pain. And hopefully it helps them. But I also learned that sometimes drugs, pain medicine, marijuana, pills, sometimes these things have their place in the healing process and to be able to cope. And so if it's total pain and you can't cope with it mentally, then you do whatever you got to do. But eventually, if you can pull back from that high level of pain, where you can focus, and then you can use your mind. But when you're in the highest levels of pain, trying to get there through the mind is going to be almost impossible. So that was my experience. That happened to me just about 6 weeks, 7 weeks after my open heart surgery. Why it would clog up in that quick a time, I don't know. But there was a lesson there. And what happened to me in the operating room, being able to see my body when my body was not unconscious. My body was fully conscious looking up. And it was a local anesthetic, so I wasn't that drugged up mentally. I don't fully understand. But it was real. And when I told the doctor that they had some dust and a piece of paper up on top of the machines, and they looked and there was a piece of paper up on top of the machines, and the doctor believed me. He goes, "Oh, you saw that from up?" "Yeah, I saw that from up there." Anyway, so that was my follow-up surgery after my open heart surgery and my out-of-body experience. I have no explanation, none at all.